Okay, let's get back to it, councillors. Now, a little bit of context. We have 2 or 3 matters still to address. And yesterday, when I was asked about how long today's meeting would take, I said only a couple of hours, and I cancelled lunch. So so if we go past lunchtime, you'll be getting your own. So that should serve as at least in part an incentive to facilitate the rest of the meeting. Thank you for your attention. Now, Councillor Hawkins, I understand that you have yet another brainwave. Yeah, right. So let's just try and get through this as efficiently as possible. There's not that much to do, but let's not drag it out. So, Councillor Hawkins.
Yeah, thank you. It's fairly straightforward, really, and I didn't realise we had to do this on a year-on-year basis, but we do, and it's just to reaffirm Council's commitment to offering the Warm Dunedin scheme, which is a targeted rate program to deliver heating and insulation in Dunedin households that we've done for a number of years, but wasn't explicitly enabled for the 17-18 year. So this is just simply allowing us to continue to offer it.
Okay, and just for those of you who are not completely aware, the Warm Dunedin scheme is a scheme by which ratepayers are lent the money to insulate their house and they repay it with interest through their rates bill. So this is about debt. This isn't about a funding mechanism to give people anything. This is simply about the need to have this, as I understand it, explicitly allowed for so that we can raise the debt. That's why it's an annual plan issue. Is that right, Gavin?
It actually allows me to sign the contracts as they come in.
Right.
On your behalf.
Are there any speakers to this?
No.
Sorry? Yes, Councillor Moss. So I'm going to put it all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Abstentions? Carried. Now I understand, Councillor Stones, you have prepared a resolution.
Thank you, Your Worship. In spending some time reviewing the individual projects that are being undertaken through Enterprise Dunedin and the funding for those, I realised that there was only a 12-month funding for food resilience. So it will end at the end of June. Therefore, I'd like to move that we consult, in whichever form we choose to consult in the end, on the community's views on continuing to fund it. It is the food resilience project is making good progress, and I think we've got, John, the report coming in March on the activities and the progress that it's made. So I'm proposing that we do something similar to the environment strategy and just put it out there to see what the community, how the community feels and whether they want to continue with the funding which would allow the project to continue running beyond the end of June.
Thank you. It's been seconded by Councillor Wiley. Are there any other speakers? Councillor Andrews.
So I just had a brief question. Councillor Staines, you said that it's going well. The 50 grand that's already been spent, what have we seen for it in terms of anything useful? Or is it just paperwork?
Probably John would be the best person to answer that question.
So the business advisor's role was created in 2016-17 and has allowed them to work on their action plan, which was to establish a Dunedin food charter, confirmation and the establishment of a food brand, and working with the local industry to create a Dunedin food website. So those are the activities that will come back and be reported on in March.
I note in some of the websites and stuff and things like that in fact Dunedin is getting a name for food and a name for beers and wines, etc. and I was just wondering whether some of that was also contributing to the marketing of our image as a foodie kind of place.
Sorry, I should have stayed here. In answer to that question, yes, we see and anticipate more marketing going into Dunedin as a food destination.
Any further speakers? Being none, I'll put all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Abstentions? Carried. Thank you. Now, are there any other councillor matters?
This issue is one which probably should have been brought up earlier, but what I would like councillors to consider is the recognition of deferred maintenance as being another significant kind of debt. Deferred maintenance has been mentioned in our proceedings in the last day in water and waste, in property, but in the media especially regarding Delta Aurora.
So can I suggest that you, if you have a resolution, that you put it up so that we can understand exactly what it is that you're speaking to and for?
The resolution is that council should make an allowance of $3 million per annum, about 10% of the polls only maintenance, for anticipated reductions from DCHL, dividend reductions from DCHL. The reason that I've just hit on the fairly arbitrary figure of $3 million is that if you look at what is known...
Before you continue, Mr. Fine.
Okay.
There is a second. Sorry, that's just
No, no.
second.
Thank you. I did try.
Now, are there any other, before we go back to the matter we laid on the table from that first resolution yesterday, are there any other matters that need to be raised that we've missed? Okay. In that case, can we, Sandy, could you perhaps come to the table, because we now want to consider, can I be reminded where the...
You want me to move that so you need to move it and take it off the table?
We adjourned it, we adjourned the item, we didn't lay it on the table.
Oh, well, that was what standing was about, but that's what you meant.
The recommendation in question is on page 11, and it's been in terms of the proposed community engagement process for the 2017-18 annual plan budget, allowing work to proceed on development of engagement plan material and a detailed engagement plan for subsequent approval by council. So as I understand it, the issue is how we intend to engage / consult on the annual plan, and the nub of the issue really is whether we have hearings or not. So the reason I've asked Ms. Graham to the table is, and Nicola, is that we can be apprised of what plans and suggestions council staff have with regard to engagement, and then we can make a call on whether that's appropriate.
So just a little bit of background, because I think we might have lacked a little bit of clarity about the administrative efficiencies we were trying to gain by what was initially suggested. Because this is an exceptions-only annual plan, you're not required to have a special consultative procedure. Now, that's an SCP, if I can use the acronym. SCPs bring with them a range of statutory requirements about the timeframes for when you need to notify things, for how far in advance you need to do certain things, and around the hearings process and what is required by way of a formal submission. Now, staff were keen to, and SCPs come with a cost. Okay, so there's a cost associated with that because of the compliance elements around it. Because this is an exceptions-only plan, and given where we're at now, it's pretty much a business-as-usual budget that we've agreed to this point, following the debate yesterday. What staff would like to see as a different engagement approach, would like to recommend, whereby we don't have an SCP, but we don't limit councillors' ability to engage with their community. So you can still have hearings potentially, but not in the SCP form. So it might be that we advertise them slightly less in advance. We're not 3 weeks out, for example. So it just affects the timeframes. So what we have prepared, and we'll bring back to Council on the 21st or 22nd of February, whenever that meeting is a detailed breakdown of how we think this engagement might work. And that will include the various mechanisms, the various face-to-face opportunities, digital media, the advertising we think we'll do, and all the opportunities that we will provide the community to feedback into the process. And it will mean things like tweets, for example, potentially can count as some feedback from your community, because it's not a formal SCP. So the mechanisms that are open to your community to engage with you expand because of that, just given how it's structured at the moment. And tweets are clearly a topical way of engaging. And so that's what we're proposing. And so if this is the will of the council, we will flesh out what we have. There are 21 councils who have gone away from hearings, but most of those have not been large metropolitan councils like us. But other of our metro colleagues have taken a different approach, where there's been council forum, for example, where councillors have had an opportunity to sit around a table with submitters and have a chat with them, rather than this very formal process, which for some people works really well, but can be kind of intimidating as well. And also we want to look at mechanisms whereby the feedback we get in written form has an opportunity to be considered as well as any that you hear face to face, because the written submission is also really important. So it's how to find mechanisms that give all of those feedback processes a chance to have to get your attention. And there are some administrative things we'd like to present to you in February that might be different than times past, that will help us in the back end, but hopefully will make for a robust process for you and your community. So that's what we're thinking.
I think the best way to inform everyone is to just open it up for questions now. So we have councillors who have questions. Councillor Wiley.
So in theory, for example, a community board could, as part of the community board meeting, have an open forum afterwards where people could actually just come in, discuss and present their views on the annual plan.
Absolutely, and we would look at, if that was what was planned, we would look at having a mechanism for capturing that feedback. It wouldn't have to be formal, it might be just someone writing notes on a whiteboard, taking a picture of it, and we'd feed it in. You know, so we'd have any number of mechanisms.
And also engaging with that one, because the part that I also look at is that maybe a good idea for 3 or 4 councillors attending a community board meeting, so actually people felt that there was engagement from both sides, that it wasn't just the community board councillor sitting there. There was 3 or 4, there was actually really real engagement taking place.
Absolutely, our draft approach is to provide as many opportunities for councillors to engage with the community as they would like.
I really liked what I heard about the idea of sitting around a table with people, almost in a focus group kind of situation, because I think that was my concern around the, dropping the hearings was missing that one-to-one, that face-to-face connection. I do think that's really important, and I ask you, are you going to be looking at, creative ways that are maybe really unusual in terms of how we normally work, things that are outside the box? Because I know there are councils, some of them smaller councils, who've done some really creative things.
So we will do that. We have looked across the sector at what many councils have done, but if councillors have examples of things that have been done, we'd really welcome that feedback in advance of the report that we put up to council in February.
Thanks, Sandy, and really wanted to just acknowledge the work and the openness of staff in this area to work on this. I think, it's a fantastic approach, and I think the community is going to respond really, really well. And I think I really like what you said about it being an intimidating space, because it is. I've been on that side of it, and no matter how confident people are or how articulate in their own fields, they often find it very intimidating.
Councillor
Given the low turnout in voting, I was just wondering also if we could also go around different communities, because we've got a certain percentage of people engaged with the council, but thinking about like Brockville, Corstorphine, some of those places where people don't feel empowered, and so we can have a small thing where people are invited, where they feel safe. So some of those places where people don't feel confident to vote, don't feel confident to submit, don't feel confident to even put things into written language, it means they've got a chance to actually engage.
Absolutely, we recognise that there are some communities that we've had more difficulty in engaging, and we're working really actively to try and see what we can do better in that space. So any suggestions that folk have for what might work for the communities that they know that we might not know so well, we're happy to take on board and do what we can.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, and I certainly welcome more innovative approaches to engagement than a couple of us standing in a supermarket foyer to the bemusement of the post-work shopper. But from a process point of view, how do we go about it? So your recommendation is that we defer making a decision on endorsing a community engagement plan until we've seen one, and that will come, a more detailed one, sorry, and that will come to the February council meeting.
And that would be my recommendation, but just so councillors know, we have parallel planning and process at the moment around the new plan. So were you to choose, having seen the detailed engagement plan, to go down the formal traditional hearings path, that option would still be open to you. So there's no time constraint on that, because we have got the parallel planning and process.
I've already spoken to this, I think, so I can't move a procedural motion to withdraw it, but that would be the best option, I would think. That's currently on the...
So just to clarify,
Picking up on that, just to clarify, what you're suggesting is that we don't actually put this resolution at all here. We hold it over to the council meeting in February, by which time we will have something to actually decide on, i.e. an engagement plan. Seems to make sense to me, because if we do, it seems to me that if we make a decision on this now, we will be having to reconsider it in light of whatever the engagement plan proffered is in February. So that doesn't seem to make much sense.
are there any, we might as well finish the question, so Councillor Lord.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Well, we don't need to put it, we just need to move that this lay on the table until the February meeting. And I'll move that from the chair, if that's the best way to do it. Councillor, and secondly, Councillor Lord. Okay, if there are no further questions, I've moved from the chair that this be laid on the table until the...
Sorry, my point is that if it lies on the table, when it comes back, it's already been superseded because the work's happened.
It's asking for work to be done, is the problem, this resolution.
The other option would be to leave the original one lying on the table and come back with
Hang on.
I was just the cleanest version, if I might put my other head on my standing rights, that would be to withdraw this.
Right.
That would relieve of the movement.
I'm happy to have not completely concluded my putting of that, so that I don't need to withdraw it. So we've just not put it. Is that procedurally?
This motion is on. It's still a motion that needs to be dealt with, though, so you haven't put it, but I suggest withdrawing.
Oh, well, I'll move that we withdraw it in that case. Second to Councillor Lord again, I take it.
Now that you've changed your mind, I'm happy to agree to the changes of the new motion.
Good. All right, being a procedural motion, there's no debate, so I'll put it. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Okay. There remains one resolution, which is the final resolution that we need to put, and that is that all previous resolutions, including amendments to resolutions, be confirmed. So you'll recall that at the beginning of the meeting we passed a motion whereby everything was up for confirmation at the end or amendment. This brings it round to conclusion that all previous resolutions, including amendments to resolutions, be confirmed. Seconded, Councillor Staines. Is there any discussion on that? Any clarification required on that? There isn't. All right, I'll put it. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Abstentions? Carried. Thank you. And I take guidance from Pam, but I don't think that we need to do, so that's... No, that's fine. All right, that is the conclusion of the meeting. Thank you for the alacrity with which you've assisted its progress.